Hello, everybody. So hopefully this is going to be an interesting presentation today where I'm going to go and show the differences that happen when you are during the day working on a multi-million-dollar movie and you have a very strict kind of vision to follow and you have to follow that vision through and finish it up to make sure that it's on time and you can then, after the concept side, then people can take your work and then go into production. Today, I'm going to tell you the experience I had when I decided to create my own universe. To start from scratch, write a script, be my own producer and hire a producer, spend my own money as well, my own savings, and all this as a mix of a bittersweet situation where some of it was exciting, some of it was very painful. So I'm going to go through all of that. I hope you have your hiking boots on because it's going to be a rough ride. And first I'm going to start with showing the kind of work I do usually during the day. Knowing that my background is in industrial design, then I moved to video games for 15 years. I worked on such titles as Prince of Persia, Assassin's Creed, and my dream, because my dad had always put that into my mind, my dream was always to work in movies, And I've heard so many stories of students saying, oh yeah, after a year in art school, I landed this movie gig, things like that. It took me 15 years until I was able to work on a movie. But when it happened, I was extremely happy. So first, I'm going to show you the work I do usually, and then I'll transition it into the short film that I created. That's a 15-minute short film that you can see on Vimeo. That got a Vimeo staff peak after a week, which I was very proud of. So hopefully you guys can communicate it and show it to all your friends. Thank you.
Find them.
We're all here because of a map you two kids found in a cave.
Not a map. An invitation.
From whom?
Please tell me you can read that.
Prometheus?
If we're going to survive, we need a new kind of soldier. One who doesn't think the way we think. Fear the things we fear. One the enemy would never expect.
We need minds like yours, Ender. You'll be the finest commander we've ever trained.
So I'm not the first?
No, but you will be the last.
Everything I can to win this war.
There's one way in. They know we're coming, so follow me.
All the people, why me?
He thinks you can fix the future.
You wanted to see Tomorrowland. Here it comes.
So as you saw, I mean, it was really like a transition for me, going from a place where usually you're really catered and you're comfortable behind your computer, and there's a huge team of people that works behind you, to even sometimes if your concepts are not perfectly finished or whatever, you have those teams of VFX guys that turn your simple concept into amazing finished product, you know? And that's something as a concept artist you tend to forget about, you know? But the thing is that what was very inspiring, you know, working on Tron Legacy particularly, is that you have the chance as a concept artist to work amongst directors like Joe Kosinski, and on Prometheus, like directors, of course, like Ridley Scott. And when you're there, you know, in an office, and you listen to those people talk, they are so inspiring. And it's like being like a little fly into such a secret space, you know. So taking that knowledge that I had and that motivation and that drive that I got from those people, I thought, okay, it's time for me to start developing my own universe and my world. And it's funny because at the beginning, what's very different from being on Rails and doing concept art is that everything, because it's all on your own responsibility, everything feels like Jell-O, you know? It's like you're trying to turn like a ball of Jell-O into a cube. That's your vision. And it's extremely difficult. And also the other thing is that because I was lacking knowledge, for example, in writing, I was lacking knowledge definitely in VFX making, I was lacking knowledge in editing and things like that. I had to start gathering people to help me. And some people can help you, especially if you pay them, which is totally normal and fair. But at some point when you don't have money anymore, well, those people are not here to help you anymore. So the thing that I had to learn is the fact that, first of all, a lot of people are experts, you know, and they tell you, oh, yeah, you gotta use that software to edit. Oh, yeah, you have to turn everything to ProRes, otherwise you'll be screwed, you know. And there's a lot of things that I didn't understand, to be honest with you, and because my background was just using Photoshop, you know, for 20 years, sure, but it was just using Photoshop. And I think what was very interesting is first that I had that drive and that passion coming from a kid that always wanted to make movies, and using those skills that I had learned as a painter and see where that could get me. So I'm going to show you a video that I just got. My father passed away 5 years ago when I was working on Tron Legacy, and my brother 2 weeks ago sent me a Super 8 that my dad had kept of me, which is the first short film I ever made when I was 11 years old. So I apologize for the great quality. And then also you'll see the kind of work I do in the concept art world usually. So that's me. Amazing visual effects. Great depth of field, no motion blur, amazing acting by my best friend. All in camera, by the way. That marker line is me trying to do special effects onto the Super 8 film. And then over the 20 years, the 15 years I worked in concept art, I've learned all the basics coming from industrial design, about building things, about painting things in a classical way, going from background to foreground, developing my own techniques when it comes to create happy accidents, you know, those happy accidents that directors use as well when they're in production in order to make things that have never been seen before visually. And all these tools were assets that I knew I could rely on when I was going to start directing. These are some of the work I created for Prometheus, the MedPod, some of I've seen here, the lab room, also some of the exterior views, some of the storm scenes and things like that. What is Plug? What was the short film? So the short film was made as a way to show my directing abilities, which at the time were very minimal. I had directed few short films using a Bolex a few years ago in Austin, 16mm film. It was a nightmare. I had some experiences working with a DV camera, which was also a nightmare. And then suddenly something happened. Something happened, and that something is the Canon cameras, the Canon DSLR video cameras. When I saw that, and I saw that I could take an L lens and go shoot myself later when I start producing and using my own money. But anyway, shoot something myself. I realized, okay, that's one element that I know that I can rely on. I can take photos. I know how to use a good lens. I know how to use a camera. And the other thing that happened is that as I was trying to juggle around with editing and things like that, I saw this interview that Adobe made of David Fincher that was starting using the Creative Suite and Premiere in particular in order to edit his movies. And I thought, you know what, all these people told me, oh, don't do it because it's too complicated and things like that. If Dave Fincher can use Premiere, why can't I use Premiere the same way? You know, if it's good enough for him, it's going to be definitely good enough for me. So that's what I started using. And so what that allowed me is use all those elements that come from Hollywood filmmaking and compress them as much as I could with basically $0 into my own short film. So taking all those elements, I compress them as much as I can into some kind of production, but things were not as simple as they got. So I'll show you an extract of the making of I did for the short film plug, which is going to show you the kind of the pain that I went through.
Hi, my name is David Levy. I'd like to thank you, first of all, for watching this making of. And this is the story behind Plug. We'll do very quickly, like a short presentation. And I'll be talking about the different cast members and also what went through the production and the good part and the bad part and all the joy that I had to meet all the people that I met during that production.
Scout model. State your serial number and malfunction.
If you're expecting one of those super sharp and clean making of, this is not the case. Everything in that production from beginning to the end was more rock and roll. So to be along the same line, this making of is going to follow the same rules of rock and roll. So I hope you'll enjoy the ride.
So here we go. This is Thanksgiving weekend, and next week we're going to shoot teaser 2. This is what we have this weekend. What do we have this weekend?
We have two versions of Scout. We have the Scout helmet that I'm working on right now to make it look like it's a little bit more beat up than this before he gets shot in the head. And then, of course, the one that we have from the first teaser where he's shot in the head and all beat up. So we'll be using both those this weekend. We've also got some energy cores that Alex is working on. There's a brief shot of them, so they're not exactly the most detailed prop we've ever done, but
yeah,
they'll look good enough.
Work, but they're getting there.
It's all about indication and matte black paint. But then we also got our buddy right here, Mr. Ray, the bad guy.
As I mentioned before, it was quite a nightmare. I mean, I never expected, I knew how important sound was, for example, but I had it really slapped in my face when we were shooting into 60 miles per hour winds. And when we got the data back from the sound, it was just garble. So that's just one of the things that went wrong. On the other thing that went wrong, we had a buggy which the motor exploded, you know. And when you have $0 in your pocket, well, there's not much you can do, you know. So we had to delay the shoot and things like that. So the thing is that what I'm trying to explain here is that even when you have the will and the desire to become a director, you're going to go through some growing pains. And some of the growing pains, it's fine, you know, you're going to do mistakes, maybe shoot on one day on the wrong frame rate, things like that, because you're too much in a hurry to set up your camera and things like that. But the thing is that what saved my butt, really, I mean, I'm not saying that because I'm here presenting for Adobe, I'm really honest with that. What saved my butt was really the fact that the spine that held the whole short film together was the Creative Suite. The fact that I used tools that were, it wasn't just an editing software completely separate from a VFX software, completely separate from an editing software. Everything was, in a way, using the same language. Coming from Photoshop, I had to learn not only Premiere, but as I will explain later, I had also to learn the VFX side of it. The reason is that the guy who was supposed to be a VFX supervisor on the project had a really bad family thing happen, and the baby landed back on my hands. So, I mean, when you're facing horror, there's two things you can do. There's fight or flight. For a while, for a good 6 months, it was mostly flight. I was passing by, walking by my hard drive, my Drobo hard drive, and I was just cringing at the sight of it. I was crying, cringing, and just hiding from it. And then at some point, I walked in front of it, and I thought, you know what? There's only one thing I can do, is just roll up my sleeves and let's jump into it. So I cannot thank enough Video Copilot because they are the other part that saved my butt. Looking at their tutorials, I was able to pick up VFX, and I became kind of a jack of all trades, you know. Thank God I had two friends of mine, Ray Peña and Tori Alvarez, that helped me on the basics, and also when it comes to rigging and animation, which is something that I cannot do because it's a whole different ball game. But I was able to pick up compositing, and because of my background in painting, I really liked the tools that I had in After Effects, which were very similar to the tools that you find in Photoshop. So I was able to pick up compositing, rotoscoping, and all these things into After Effects just in a year time, approximately. And the other thing that I want to mention is that I use Premiere not only as an editing software, but also as a way to test things. I storyboarded the whole short film before I ever shot it, and was able to create basically what's called in Hollywood a pre-visualization, previs. I created a whole previs of the short film, of 15-minute short film, and that allowed me to realize that my short film was really crappy. You know, it was extremely bad. So after I fixed the script as much as I could, as much as my understanding could, I went back, redid some of the storyboards. Then we went and shot some teasers which became kind of the test bed for us to see what works and didn't work when we were shooting. And after that, I started learning VFX, like I mentioned before. So these are some of the concept art that I did. Then by the time I was looking at VFX, I was so burnt out that I asked my friends whom I work with, I'm thankful to work with amazing artists around me, matte painters and things like that. I asked them advices, you know. So I was able to develop some of the shots into 3D, then start compositing them, rendering them through V-Ray, through different rendering modes. A thing that I hadn't really done before, which, I mean, surprisingly, are now helping me a lot in my daily work. And in a moment, I'll be talking about the VFX a bit more. But it's interesting to stop on that frame, because that frame was shot when my wife and I were going to our wedding. We got married on an island of Los Angeles, Catalina Island, and on a small place. And on my way there, I took my cell phone and I shot some of the footage that you see here, and I turned them into this post-apocalypse war thing. So it's just to show you, which is very interesting, is that you can take any kind of footage. I tested it. the crappiest footage you can take, and you can input it into Premiere, and Premiere would just take it and say, sure, whatever, what else do you have? Which for us was a big help. Because when you don't, for example, there's other footage. I paid a $100 trip with one of my friends who's a helicopter pilot. I just took my 7D, no rig, nothing, just took my 7D and used some of that footage. I shot tons and tons of footage just in a 1 hour trip over Los Angeles, which allowed me to do the nuclear shot that you saw later, which allowed me to do like also as if there was a drone view bombing some houses. So all in all, what I'm saying is that if you do have the vision and if you do have the desire, nowadays all the tools are there, especially if you have the spine like the Creative Suite that is affordable nowadays. You have all what it takes to become a filmmaker. So I'm going to show you some of that VFX footage that was created. There you go. Characters, for example, were animated just with basic motion capture footage you can find when you buy a 3D software. This is the footage I was mentioning about when it comes to helicopter shots. I had to learn how to rig as well, some basic rigging, vehicle rigging, and rendering into layers. This is the part that I could not do, that my friend Repenia did. He textured entirely that robot design and rigged it and animated it. But I had to composite it. And my hats off to all the rotoscopers out there. You guys are just amazing. This was the most difficult thing I had to do in that short film. This was a shot that was not used because the editing guy said it was way too cheesy. This one is cheesy too, but I used it. How can you do post-apocalypse without nuclear explosion? This is using another mocap file, and I created, oh, this is an interesting one. There was a shot missing. I'm going to pause it. There was a shot missing when I finished the edit, and one of my friends told me, dude, the girl, she goes from the desert into a bar, and you don't have a door opening or something. It's a post-apocalyptic sci-fi movie. You gotta have a big, huge, grungy door. So the thing is that as I mentioned before many times, I had no more money, first of all, to hire an actor again. So what I did is that I went through all the footage that I had taken, and that we had taken as a team, and I found the footage that was just there as a lighting test, you know. And as you saw at the beginning, on the left side, we have the clap going. So I moved the shot in After Effects. I surrounded it with just like 2D image of a door, and I just animated it into a cool sci-fi post-apocalyptic door. This is another example that made me really realize how painful rotoscoping is. Most of the tracking was done in Mocha too, by the way. Thank you, Video Copilot, for the flames. The other thing that the Creative Suite was very helpful with is that when it comes to when you're on your own once again, and once the whole team is gone, you find yourself with you have to advertise your short film as well. It's not just a short film that's going to live on its own and be advertised by itself. So we had shot a lot of making of images. But as you know, I mean, I wasn't a professional photographer before, and I've never been, I'm still not. But the thing that I learned is that Lightroom was great for me, using Lightroom Presets in order to take all thousands of images that I had and turn them into and developing them. So the way I did that is that I found online some free Lightroom presets to do either black and white or color correction and things like that. And I was able to load them, to apply them to thousands of images all at once, just in one click. And I was able to fine-tune all of this later. So that's it for today. I just want to say also, as I mentioned before, we got a Vimeo staff peak, and we also won a competition called a script pipeline, which allowed us to get in touch with producers and studios. And right now we're in the process of writing a pitch for the pilot, and we're hoping to do something with that. And we also have a new short film that we just started working on. So please, 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 for the indie filmmaking guys out there, please advertise the short film as much as you can. And I hope that was an interesting presentation. Thank you very much.